I don't know if it's worth mentioning because I don't know how many of our listeners may have seen these movies, but the Bleach live action movie in particular is going to be directed by Shinsuke Sato, who apparently was responsible for both Gantz live action movies, which I only bring up as a transition into our pretty much our last news story that I really, 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 really wanted to talk about because this is. Personally, I thought this was pretty relevant to me personally, and we'll get to why in just a second. But the author of Gantz, Hiroyuki Oku, apparently one day started to rant on Twitter about a certain thing that apparently I'm not sure, if I'm sure all manga artists probably don't care for this kind of thing, but and I won't go over what he talked about word for word, but just to kind of sum things up, he essentially went to Twitter to basically rant about like the market for secondhand manga over in Japan and about how, when consumers buy all of their manga secondhand and they don't pay retail or list price for their manga, that basically the money that you pay to buy used manga or used books don't go back to the author.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something he was complaining about in particular. And he was basically like, if you want to support a manga creator, that you should buy your manga at list price. And I thought this was interesting considering how I've been actually thinking about this a lot lately and for a while now, because, I don't think it's wrong to say that, like, I prefer buying a lot of my manga through places like through Amazon Marketplace. I buy a lot of my manga used. Nowadays, I very rarely buy a lot of my manga at list price. I feel like the only times lately I buy my manga at list price is when, like, I'll buy, like, a digital volume or something. That's also because I'm running out of shelf space. So, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast yet. I might have mentioned it last episode, I don't know. But we've been talking a lot about Watsuki, the author behind Kenshin and a lot of like his works lately. And it made me kind of want to go out and buy all of Gunblaze West, which is I forget if he wrote that before or after Buso Renkin, but regardless, that was a series that he also did for Shonen Jump, but that only lasted about 3 volumes, pretty much because it got canceled, unfortunately. So with all of that in mind, I really wanted to go out and buy Gunblaze West to read it because I was kind of interested in it. But also the thing is, it was canceled. So, like, I have experience in reading a lot of, like, canceled Jump titles. And the thing that I know, like, the thing that I usually come back to when critiquing a lot of those kinds of manga is that, with something that short that got canceled, around, volume 3, that'd be like 18, maybe 20 chapters or so, something around there. Usually with series like that, with a lot of series I read like that, the thing that I come back to is, man, the series could have been so great, or this had potential if only it ran longer. That was the thing I came to when I read, when I finally got around to reading like Hi-Fi Cluster, which ran in the digital weekly Shonen Jump a little while back. And that series could have been pretty cool if that had more time to it as well. So that's kind of my biggest complaint with a lot of canceled Jump titles in particular, is that they don't ever have enough time to fully develop, the setting, the world, or the characters, the story, whatnot. And getting back to the point, I found it not only cheaper to buy Gunblaze West through Amazon Marketplace, basically buying it used. I kind of want to buy it used because I don't really want to, like, personally, I don't really want to pay full price for something like that, something that got canceled. That I'm not saying it'll be terrible, but, like, it probably won't be very good either. So, like, with that title in particular, from my experience in reading stuff like that, I don't feel confident in wanting to buy something like that at full price. But this is just like a very particular situation of mine. I don't know how many people can really relate to this kind of thing. That's kind of my reasoning for wanting to buy this used. But, in general, I don't know. Like, whenever I buy used manga, that always does kind of cross my mind that maybe I really should buy this at full price at some point. You know, none of the money that I pay for used manga is going to go back to the original creators, which is a shame, but like, I don't know. What do you think about all this, Sid?
I mean, it's true. I mean, if you buy used secondhand manga, it's not going to go back to the publisher, much less the creator. So, if that's something if you really care about and want to support your favorite series, you really need to buy them firsthand, because that's what goes back to the publisher, that will go back to the creators of the series you enjoy. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy secondhand books at all. Like, there's a whole bunch of circumstances. Like, not everyone can, like, pay, like, full price for something, like, right off the bat. There's a whole bunch of financial situations. And there might be some things that you can't, like, find firsthand. They're, like, can't buy from the publisher. Like, it's not in print anymore. So you're gonna have to buy that secondhand.
Actually, for example, you know, I've mentioned a couple times before that I'm in the middle of trying to collect all of GTO, or Great Teacher Onizuka.
And that's out of print.
Yep, those aren't in print anymore because it was a Tokyo Pop thing. And you know, that's an example of something that you literally cannot buy without delving into the secondhand market.
Right. So yeah, if you buy those used GTO manga, for example, that money is not going to go back to the original publisher in Japan. It's not going to go back to the mangaka. So if you really wanted to support the mangaka, that's something you were concerned with, you would probably try and buy the Japanese volumes if they were still in print, if the English volumes weren't available. But, you know, maybe if you don't read Japanese, then, you know, you can't actually maybe enjoy, you know, reading the manga, which is, like, what the point of, like, buying the manga would be. So
yeah.
Why wouldn't you just buy the secondhand books? And here's the thing, is that those books have to go somewhere. And it's a waste to just not, like, it's a waste to, you know, discard them, or, like, put them in hands that will, you know, people who will read them.
Yeah.
Used books are an important part of actually the publishing industry still. Like, it doesn't directly, you know, feed money back to the original creators, but it is a very important, like, part of, you know, the stability of, like, the publishing industry. And so you should always, if you really care about supporting a series and supporting a creator you would like, you should have to buy your manga firsthand from stores, from the websites of the publishers. But if you, like, just want to read something and it's not necessarily available otherwise, or if you see some books like at a secondhand bookstore that you want to enjoy, there's no need to feel guilty, and there's no shame in doing that. Those books should be read by someone, and they're out there. You might as well read them. And I understand why the Gantz mangaka, was complaining about this, because if the secondhand books are all that's being, circulated and all that's being purchased among fans, then no new first printings are being made from the publisher, and there aren't as many sales, there aren't as many first-hand sales being done. But at the same time, that's just an inevitability when you build up such a backlog of books, and when you have so many books being printed. There's going to be a lot of, content out there. There's going to be a lot of books being published out there that, eventually people might not need anymore, or might not have room for anymore, so they'll have to put them up for sale. And then there might be someone who comes by who's interested, and they have no reason not to take the books off someone's hands. Like, those books still, if those books are still perfectly good, they should, and they're still, like, worth reading. I will say this, is that it's only a problem for fans who only buy secondhand books, even though they really enjoy a series. but they have the financial means to support the series, but they don't do so, and they just, read secondhand books or just scans. Scans are worse than, buying secondhand, because at least you're buying the physical book.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, you're not paying money back to creators, but you're kind of feeding still the chain of, like, the publishing industry in some indirect way. But, like, that scans are, like, a way bigger problem than, like, reading secondhand books.
Yeah.
But basically, it's only it's only really something you should be guilty about. If you have the means to support a series and you want to support a series, but you're not doing so just because it's easier to get it secondhand. If you really love a series and you really, respect that creator, then you should show your support. Because money is basically kind of a vote, in a sense, especially for an currently running ongoing series, to keep that series in publication, to keep that series still running and get more content. So if you want to see more content from your favorite series and your favorite creator, you need to support that series and that creator directly.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I feel like it all comes down to what your preference is, like, it doesn't hurt to buy used books every once in a while, especially if maybe you just happen to be short on cash or whatnot, but, like, every once in a while, I feel like, personally, I feel like I don't have a problem with buying most of my stuff secondhand, but at the same time, every once in a while, I feel like, personally, I should throw the original creator a bone every once in a while, and at least make an attempt to buy something at list price so that I know the money will be going back to the publisher and the creator directly.
Mm-hmm. I buy a ton of manga every month firsthand, and so when I do see something that I can get, a little bit cheaper that might be secondhand, I don't really feel all that guilty about it because I'm still supporting my favorite series. And I'm still, I still make sure to support series that I definitely really think need that support.
Yeah.
Like something like Princess Jellyfish, like that is a series that I will always buy at the highest price possible because that's a series I really want to succeed and really know that it has such a niche market that it might not it needs all the support it can get. Same thing for something like Vinland Saga after it became apparent that, that was struggling too. Like, especially in those circumstances, you need to buy, in stores or online at the highest price you can and really give as much as you can to the publishers and the original creator to keep that series published.
Pretty much. But yeah, like, I thought that was a pretty interesting discussion that I feel like we should have had. But, well, I guess we'll, just to kind of jump ahead here, because we'll get to feedback here in just a second. If you guys have any thoughts on this particular subject, what you prefer to, if you prefer to buy all your stuff secondhand, or if you really feel passionately about wanting to support the original creators, if you guys have any thoughts on this, we'd like to hear them. You can always send us an email over at mangamavericks@gmail.com, and we'll read your thoughts on the show, and we'd love to hear what you guys think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this definitely deserves some discussion every once in a while.
It's good to have discussion topics like this.